Hello, my name is Harriet Mead and I'm President of the Society of Wildlife Artists, and I'd just like to give you a little bit of an insight into what we've been getting up to in preparation for this year's exhibition. So I'll just take you around. So this is the main wall of the West Gallery, and there's some beautiful work on here. We've got pieces by Andrew Haslam and Bryn Edwards, who coincidentally are both based in Suffolk, not far from one another. But I just wanted to talk about Andrew's work in particular because it's on a much bigger scale than we've seen from him for a long time, and it's just vibrant and such an amazing celebration of the wildlife that he's chosen. And interesting, if I just take you over here, Andrew, a number of years ago, one of his dogs came in with a leveret that he'd found in his garden, and it was, there's no way he could find the mother again. So Andrew actually reared the leveret and subsequently another leveret that was brought in by the same dog a year or two later. So if you look at these paintings by Andrew, you can really see he spent so long drawing these hares that lived in his house, and he ended up releasing them into the wild. But he absolutely knows his subject inside out. And actually, I think that's one of the strengths of so many of our artists, is that they observe in the field. They don't necessarily have a pet one in their living room, but whether it's a bird or a hare or a fox, they've actually drawn it and looked at it and watched it themselves, so they get to know the animal so much better than just using a photograph or something like that as a reference. So here we are in the East Gallery. It's a really impressive space, but also what's been really impressive is this year, first time ever, we've shown a whole body of work to do with a project that one of our artists has created. So Julia Manning is a very accomplished printmaker, and she lives in the Somerset Levels, and she's chosen to look at the life cycle of the eel, which is a fascinating story. They spend their lives going from seawater to freshwater to breed. So they actually are in the Sargasso Sea, and then they have this extraordinary migration. But on that migration, there are all sorts of perils, I suppose, along the way, whether it's natural predation or in some cases interaction with man and issues to do with how we use the sea and how we use the rivers. So this project is absolutely amazing, and I'm thrilled that we can show it all in one go. And there's actually 12 pieces, and it goes through some of the issues and the sort of time frame of an eel from its life cycle. So it's well worth having a visit or looking at our website to find out more about the project itself. So I'm always keen for people to think of wildlife not necessarily as these great big animals, exciting things that the sort of things you'd see in big, impressive paintings, but actually when you start looking at smaller creatures or even things that you can find in your back garden or along a verge of a street, you can actually see tiny little things that when you start looking at the engineering of them or the life cycle or the way that they are in their micro world, they are absolute things of beauty. And these two walls here, these two parts of the East Gallery, kind of reflect some of that delight in these tiny invertebrates, as we, insects. So here we've got work from Nick Pollard, who's been looking at meadows. So you can get this whole feeling of, I can hear the buzzing almost in the meadows that he's interpreted here. And if you look, you can see bees and you can see different butterflies and moths in there as well, and there's a whole page there of studies of bees. And here we've got another panel with work by 3 different artists, but the larger pieces are by Winona Legg, who's one of our younger artists who is showing a real talent, and we're very excited by what she's been doing. But she's been concentrating on spiders, which a lot of people probably wouldn't even want to look at too closely. But what Winona's managed to create is absolutely stunning, and an absolute magic way of interpreting and communicating the delight she's found in these little humble creatures that she's seen where she lives. So I just want to take you through to the North Gallery. We've got more beautiful work here to see. But also, not just that, we actually show some project work in the north part of the gallery here. So we've got some more lovely prints on this wall, and then we come through. We've used the drama of this wall to show off some monochrome pieces, which I think look stunning on that dark grey. But in these two vitrines here, we're still formatting at the moment. One of the things the PSWLA does is we've raised quite a lot of funds in order for us to award bursaries. So the bursary scheme has been running for over 20 years, and we've helped, I must be nearly, if not more than 100 artists in that time. So it's young and emerging artists who need help with particular projects that they've got, or we've helped them by them coming on the John Busby Seabird drawing course. But because of the pandemic, we couldn't offer any places on the course because it didn't happen this year. So we've awarded 3 bursaries to individual artists who have created their own projects that we thought were really interesting. So in this display, we've got intermediary work from 3 artists. So we've got Adrian Brun, who's he lives in Norway, and he's focusing on sort of wilderness, and will display the resulting work in cabins that are used by hikers. So he's trying to get people to focus on the wildlife they might see when they're using this extraordinary wilderness for skiing or hiking. And then we've got work from 2 other artists. So we've got Ibi Lanfear, and then we've got Georgina Coburn. So Georgina wanted to learn more about using lithography as a technique. And Ibi, interestingly, has been collecting owl pellets, because owls, when they can't digest all the little bones and fur and things from their prey, so they have to regurgitate them in this pellet, and the pellet is actually full of all these bones. So she's been taking the bones to pieces and then has been sort of documenting them. It's almost like hieroglyphics. It's really interesting work, so well worth a look. So in this room here is one of the most exciting parts of the exhibition. Each year we try and show a project, and we display unfinished work. So nothing's in the frame. We used to call it the out of the frame room. So this is the out of the frame room for us this year. And I was lucky enough to be involved with this. If we come on through, it's still in progress, but we've got the work that was resulting from 2 different trips this year. We went up to Scotland, to the Argyll coast. Beautiful area, but extremely important for marine life. So we've got work from artists. We all went snorkeling, and it's absolutely fantastic. And people were drawing underwater, and then they've worked up on sketches on dry land, and then they've worked away on what they saw. So we were spending time in wetsuits, spending time in these sea locks, and seeing all the different habitat and finding incredible wildlife underwater, and it was just an amazing experience. So we've got work from Kitty Jones, this is work from Esther Tyson, we've got Bruce Pearson and Chris Rose, Jane Smith. Where's your work, Jane? I can't see it at the moment. And then who else was involved? I can't.
John Threlfall.
John Threlfall's is behind there, and so basically all the artists just were there for a very short amount of time, but actually became so excited about the habitat that they found. And having the artists there means that you can kind of communicate and make people understand that the area underwater, which perhaps you don't see so much, is as beautiful as the landscape around it, and is as important for wildlife. I was lucky enough to be lent a boat builder's workshop, so I managed to weld a wrasse whilst I was there by borrowing his equipment, but it's all good fun. The printmakers that are members of the Society of Wildlife Artists are really, really skilled. I just have to show you a few on this wall here. I can't pick out too many individuals because we'd be here all day. But I absolutely love the work of Matt Underwood, and this tawny owl and this beautiful one with the swallow and the horse chestnut flowers are just vibrant and absolutely gorgeous. Not much more you can say about them, but very skillfully done as well. And talking of skillful, our founder, member and past president, Robert Gilmore, is an extraordinary artist, and this wall shows his latest pieces, which we're absolutely thrilled to be able to show because he's not been at all well. But this represents the 58th year in succession since the very start of the Society of Wildlife Artists. This is the 58th year that he's shown, so he's shown every single year that we've been exhibiting. I just had to stop and quickly show you this wall because I think it's another standout wall in the exhibition. They're all standout, really. But this is the work of John Dobbs. We love his style. It's really painterly, the use of colours. But it's interesting because I was saying earlier about how many of our artists are very familiar with their subjects. And actually, although these are African and Indian species, and an urban fox, all of these have been observed and drawn by John because he's managed to go out to Africa and to India to see them. And you can see there's just a kind of strength in the way that he's painted them that makes you realise that he completely understands the subject matter, and they're absolutely stunning. But of course we can still look for an urban fox. We don't have to go to Africa. But another person who's inspired by African wild dogs is the talented sculptor Nick Mackman, and there again Nick spent a lot of time out in Africa, so she's drawn and observed them, and then she's made these absolutely beautiful raku-fired ceramic sculptures. Beautiful work. Okay, so I'm actually a sculptor and I work in found objects, old scrap metal. So my pieces, I've got 8 pieces that I've managed to make this year, including this roe deer here, a tawny owl, large raven and various other pieces. But I'd quite like to talk to you about, we're very strong on our sculpture actually at the Society of Wildlife Artists, and we've got some great pieces again this year. I'd like to show you some of Adam Binder's work, one of the sculptors who makes bronzes, and exquisite detail and very delicate pieces. So let's go over and have a look at his work. I'll just take my wrasse out of the way. We're still in the process of hanging. So these are Adam's pieces, beautiful patination, which is when you can colour the bronzes. So he's really picked up the colour of the kingfishers. So extraordinarily delicate, very poised pieces. And then if we come over to this group here, we haven't actually finished the lighting yet, so these pieces aren't properly lit for the exhibition. But the way that he's used the shapes of the otters reflected in the base of this bronze is absolutely fantastic, and it's really wonderful to have some great pieces from Adam again this year. So there you go, that's a whistle-stop tour of our exhibition. There's plenty more to see. Just picked out some particular pieces I wanted to share with you. So do try and come to the exhibition. It runs from the 14th of October until the 24th of October, which is a Sunday, but it closes at 1 p.m, so make sure you get up early on that day. If you can't come in to visit, why not have a look at the gallery on the Mal Gallery's website? You'll be able to see more of the work.